Good afternoon, everyone. This is Barry Asman here, coming to you live today from New York. And we are just waiting for Dave Steele to join us. He'll be here probably momentarily, and then we will be underway. So thank you for your patience, and we'll be underway momentarily. And here he is.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, good afternoon, I should say.
Yeah. Are you hearing the echo at all?
No, it must be just your side.
Okay. Well, hopefully it's a little better right now. So
Okay.
Great to see you. And I hope everyone is doing well on this lovely Wednesday afternoon / evening. Coming to the end of the month, wrapping things up. Hope everyone had a successful month. And, I can't believe it's already October, which is quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. Oh, look at that. We got a special guest appearance coming to us from the road this afternoon.
I know. I've just been speaking to person in question literally about half an hour ago.
There he is. How are you, B?
Hey. Doing real good, guys. Doing real good, thanks.
I miss you by my side. As you can see, none of us.
Hey, we're on our way up there right now.
I know you are. I know you are. I know you are. So, Dave, I'm going to have you take over for just a moment. I must answer this door. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So while Barry just goes and answers the door, I just want to say good evening to everyone out there. Welcome to another week of tea and poetry. This hour of chat and new poetry and talk about all things low vision. We're going to have an amazing call, as we always do this week. Want to say a big thank you to everyone who is with us on a regular basis. And we also have a lot of new people on the call this week as well, including a special guest who we will get to in a minute. Someone on Anonymous is saying hello. I'm not too sure who that is. It might be my daughter, Ellie, who's listening from Scotland. But if not, we'll kind of get to that in a second. Just having a look, see who's out there. B, are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here, my brother. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So for everyone that's out there, yourself and Yoni in the car, big hi to Yoni. Can you, while we're waiting on Barry coming back, just tell everyone where you are at the moment?
Yeah. We are at the petroleum station, the gas stations we say over here in New Jersey. We're getting fueled up, and we are en route to New York City, and we are meeting with some folks talking about procuring some equipment for making films, specifically with people that are blind. And we've been looking at rentals. Obviously, Dave, you and I, we've been discussing these projects back and forth, ways we're collaborating. And as we've been looking at rental versus purchasing equipment for multiple projects, looking at pulling resources and purchasing. So very exciting, going up to look at that specifically.
Yeah, we have got, I know we've kind of spoke about this in code almost over the last few weeks. We have got some very, very exciting projects that are going to be coming to fruition in the near future. And it's going to be some really amazing stuff and some really important stuff for people in our community as well. So I'm so proud of the things that you guys are doing out there and that, we're going to be working on together. I can't wait to be out there doing it with you because we've got some really special things that are going to be very important in the future.
Absolutely. I want to apologize to everyone for taking a step away there. Really unprofessional, but
No.
as our regulars can see and tell, or maybe they cannot see, but our regulars, I am actually coming to you today from New York. I live in New York, and I am working from New York this week. I wasn't feeling well earlier this week, and I decided that since my first COVID test, I wasn't happy that the results weren't coming back fast enough, that I decided that I need to get another COVID test. So when I just jumped away there, I just took a COVID test, and it was 1, 2, 3. They come to my house, and yeah, hold on a second. Can't hear you. Hold on. Yes,
Sorry,
sorry.
you just took a COVID test just now?
Just now. When I just went there, when I just stepped away there, I ran to my front door. The lab technician was there, put the swab in, right?
Oh,
left,
wow.
and goodbye. And knock on wood, I will have the results tomorrow morning.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
Yes, so it's
but the world that we live in. I'm just looking at the attendee list. We've got some pretty cool people.
Big names out there tonight. Big names.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to see all the kind of new people on the call. We have a special guest, which we're going to get to shortly. But Barry, let's do the usual introductions and let's go from there.
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much to everyone out there for joining us today. A lot of regular faces and a lot of new faces, some special guests. It's great to have everyone here, and just thank everyone for joining us for another incredible afternoon/evening of Tea and Poetry. Just before we begin, just like to go over some of the basics here. If you want to join this conversation, we ask that you please push the raise your hand button. It's quite simple. Just click on that button, and when you raise your hand, I am going to assume that you want to be brought in here. I encourage anyone that raises their hand to please include the audio, of course, and the video. But if you do not want to include video, we understand that, and we were happy to talk to you, of course, and bring you in as well. If you want to send a message, you can always get my attention through the chat, and then we also have the Q&A. So we have, again, 3 great ways to connect. I already see a couple of hands that are up, but before we open it up and allow individuals to join us, I would like to ask Dave to please kick things off with a piece of poetry.
Absolutely. So I've got several pieces of poetry, especially for tonight. And the first piece I want to read here in the UK, I'm not too sure if this is worldwide, so maybe there's someone out there that can kind of answer that. But here in the UK, as of tomorrow, it is National Poetry Day. And in fact, I think October is actually classed as National or World Poetry Month, where we kind of celebrate all things poetry. So it's a very big month as far as all the stuff that I do is concerned. Now, I recorded an interview literally, I think it was yesterday or the day before, yesterday, for the Royal National Institute for the Blind, RNIB radio here in the UK, which is the main low vision and sight loss and blindness charity here. But also had a message literally about an hour ago from RNIB, their main kind of page, looking to use this piece of poetry that I'm about to read now for National Poetry Day tomorrow. So this has only been put out on my social media and has been used for the interview tomorrow. And I want to kind of read it for you guys tonight. It's a piece that I wrote literally a couple of days ago. And my thoughts behind it was I wanted to write a piece of poetry talking about how people with low vision and disability are going through things at the moment with COVID and the current environment that we have faced in our previous challenges. We spoke about this with a piece of poetry that I'd written right when we first started these calls.
I remember that. It was an incredible piece. We had that collaboration with everyone. Great stuff.
So for those that weren't there, I wrote a piece of poetry. We spoke about everyone's feelings about how they were kind of dealing with COVID and all the stuff that was going on. We talked about how we were all experiencing feelings of isolation, feelings of social anxiety, and I put that into a piece of poetry. So the poem that I wrote a couple of days ago, which is being featured tomorrow for National Poetry Day, is kind of going on from that, and it's talking about how people with disability and low vision have all experienced these things before, and how that should empower us to understand that we already have the tools to deal with anything that we're going to face going forward in this kind of pandemic. So I'm going to read it for you now. This one's called Till the Day We're Not Apart, and I hope you all can relate to this. If you are reading this whilst feeling anxious about the world, isolated by a blindness, and how this year has unfurled. Please know you're not alone. There are many just like me who've lived through days like this before with disability. We've battled isolation, stayed at home for days on end, felt trapped behind our doors and called on others to depend. In crowded places anxious, socially distanced from our friends, yet time has been our healer. Every wound eventually mends. Just look at all that you've been through, the battles you have won. The darkest moments in your life, you live to see the sun. Don't underestimate your strength, the lengths that you've been to. The things that we faced yesterday, tomorrow get us through. So remember that the embers of the fire inside your heart can burn again as brightly till the day we're not apart. For I'll be here to catch a tear, a friend in poetry, a voice within the darkness that you don't need sight to see.
Wow. That is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Thank you. I like sometimes, like, I write a lot of poetry, as you guys know. I'm writing every week, 3 or 4, at least a week. But you know, every now and again I'll write a piece, and I've written 3, which I'm going to feature this week. Which, you know, kind of maybe go, that is, you know, that's something that's going to be pretty powerful and pretty special. And that's certainly one I'm very proud of, because it kind of says a lot.
It just always amazes me how the words just flow right out, all in a very short period of time. You're able to masterfully, you know, put everything together. And, you know, for me, I always, you know, look at those, you know, some of those words that you add to the poetry, and there's a lot of meaning behind it. And I think that's what really is the glue to keeping everyone, bringing everyone together here. So
I love it when people like yourself, you know, when we do these calls, you know, every week, and you pick out kind of lines for it. And like, I mean, there's a line there.
I just want to say for individual, if you can see me here, I do have my notebook here, and I do take notes, because I like to specifically, you know, hear certain words and then tie it in. And so when Dave is reading, I am writing and listening intently. So.
Yeah, the line I was picking out there, just look at all that you've been through, the battles you have won, the darkest moments in your life, you live to see the sun. Every moment, every dark time we've had in our life, we've survived somehow.
It's true, right? And I think that's just, as human beings, you know, we strive to always, you know, push ourselves, and, you know, we get through those dark times. Like you said, through the fire, through the hurt. It's just, you know, with strength. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And we touched on the call last week. We talked about a big topic I wanted to bring in, which is going to be a major part of tonight. And it's about support. We've spoke about support networks within our family, within our friends, with our loved ones, and what they mean to us, and what also, you know, how the journey affects them as well. But also, you know, there's lots of different types of support out there. And, you know, we did a call a few weeks ago, which was great with yourself, you know, doing all the different accessibility devices and everything else that's out there. And I really want to kind of touch on that tonight, which brings us to our first guest.
Excellent. So, I just want to say, Travis has his hand up. We're going to hold off, Travis, until after our first guest, and then we will open it up, if that's okay with you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Please stay with us.
After. Yeah,
stay with us.
Appreciate your patience. Don't go anywhere. And
so I would like to bring on Gavin Neat, who has been a great friend of mine ever since the beginning of my journey. I was saying this to Ben before when we were speaking on our call. Me and Gavin, I'm sure Gavin will agree with this when we bring him on. We've had a bit of a bromance going on for quite some time now, with a mutual respect for everything that we're doing within the community. And I really can't wait for you guys to meet him. So let's bring Gavin into the fold.
Gavin is right here, front and center. Welcome, Gavin. Good evening. How are you?
Guys, I am absolutely tip-top, and how awesome to be across the Atlantic, and also in the same room as Dave, because I very seldom get to be in the same actual virtual room. We're in different. We chat a lot to each other, but we're never really in the same room at the same time. This is a step closer, Dave. Sooner or later, mate, we'll be right next to each other. Well,
absolutely. And I've got to say, I've not just a mutual appreciation for everything that you're doing and everything that you've done, but also a very much of a mutual appreciation for the beard. For those that don't have any useful vision, Gavin is rocking the beard at the moment, with the grey in there as well. We're loving that.
Well, yeah, that's all. Yeah, I had to dye that in.
I feel left out this week because I'm the only one that's clean shaven here. I feel left out.
Yeah.
So,
well,
Gavin,
we can all grow them.
Can you? I like to do this with everyone that kind of comes on these calls. Can you first of all, before we get into kind of your story, just give a little brief introduction of how we first came to be connected, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah.
If you can remember, that is.
Yeah, no, I can. And it's slightly, well, we might have different recollections, but I'll tell mine. And then if yours is slightly different, then, because we all have different reasons for meeting each other or different memories of why we met and how we met. But so a little bit of background about me before telling the modern story. But my background was that I spent 18 years as a guide dog mobility instructor, which is seeing eye instructor. So the person who trains the person how to use the dog. Okay, so, and I did it for 18 years in the UK, in Croatia, in England, mainly in Scotland. But my job was training people who maybe have been blind for a long time or going blind or newly blind who had then applied for a guide dog and then find that they are going to their training. And then I'm the guy that trains them how to use the dog. The dog's already had quite a lot of training before it gets to me. But I remember, I can't remember exactly, it must have been Facebook. And I saw a post from Dave, and it was a poem. And it was, I think it must have been one of the ones from your first book. It must have been, because it was very early on. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, Jesus, this guy's going through hell. This guy's going through hell right now. And this is pre-dog, this is well, so much of the stuff. I mean, Dave's gone on such an amazing journey. And the beautiful thing about Dave's journey, although it's been hell for him at times, is that we've been a part of it because we've been able to read his poetry. And anybody who wants to see a history of Dave's journey can look at his poetry because it's been there the whole time. But I remember at the time when I saw Dave's poets, one of his early pre-first book even, I was thinking, this is really dark. This is really dark. And it was a reflection of where he was. But then I found out Dave was getting a guide dog, and I knew the journey he was going to go on because I'd been on that journey with over 100 people, training them with the dogs over the time. And I just thought, I'm going to love following his next poems. And then right as rain, like 6 months later, 12 months later, I've got goosebumps. I freaking love it when I get goosebumps. I love it because it just buzzed. And I saw a change in his poetry that became so much more optimistic about the world he was living in. And yes, that was ultimately connected to the mobility and independence he got with having the dog, but also I saw a change in Dave as well. Now, that's not to say there aren't crappy, rubbish days that he's had to go through, and we've seen those, and it's a freaking rocky road for anybody who's losing their sight, or indeed any part of their life, be that from something like losing your sight or just getting old and getting arthritis or anything, age-related conditions. And that loss comes across in your work, Dave. And that's when I reached out and I was like, I hoped I gave you some support at that time and said, great to watch your stuff. I mean, that's my recollection. Don't know about yours.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. And, I think, we spoke about this on many of the calls as the weeks have gone on, that I made a promise right at the beginning of my journey when I started to share it through poetry, that I was going to be an open book, and I was going to share, the good days, the bad days, because I think, when you share everything, as any artist does, in any kind of format, I think when you bare your soul, you connect with people on a completely different level. And I think I've always said there's great strength in being able to talk about your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And it's when you talk about those dark days, as you put it, I think when I do share those particular poems, even though I'm not there as much as I used to be, they're the ones that sometimes connect with so many people, because the people who are connecting with them need it the most.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
people have always said to me, oh, you know, as your journey goes on, your poetry will change, as it has. But at the same time, I've always said I'm always going to not forget those early days, because those people who are at the beginning of the journey or are having a bad day are the ones that need the support the most.
Yeah.
Those people who are all accepting,
Yeah.
who are, you know, doing parachute jumps and, you know, living full lives with guide dogs, they don't need it as much as the ones who are, you know, struggling or right in the first day. So I'm always going to tip my cap to those kind of people at the early days. And I think that's something that is, you know, is still very, very relevant in the stuff that I talk about.
But you took a lot of stick early on as well, Dave.
I did, and we spoke about that on the call, but you witnessed it. You witnessed it. A lot of people within the sight loss community, myself and Barry, have had these conversations, but he never saw it firsthand, but you did. Of people saying to me, oh, you can't speak about the negative, or you can't talk about those sort of things because it puts people with low vision in a bad light. But it's testament now to anyone that's on this call that, you know, have been supported by the poetry, who will, you know, who prove that wrong, because
the journey
you know,
you were on, and now people can see a record of your journey.
Yeah, totally.
Time it's tough, because I've got something negative to say, and I'm going to say something negative. And other people who are just before they get to your stage at that point are going, I'm seeing something negative that's going to happen to me coming up. And that's tough. I mean, it's tough, but it's real. And it's sometimes you look back and see that.
But you also get, and I've spoken about this before, you get an element of people from the low vision and blindness community who are almost like alcoholics, where they can't be around anyone who, you know, like alcoholics can't be around anyone who are drinking. People who have gone past that stage sometimes forget what they've been through, and they can't be around anyone talking about those early times because it brings them back down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is a certain element of those kind of comments in the early stages. People can't deal with other people talking about it, and I am always big in saying, you know, look, you shouldn't forget where, you know, the things that you've been through and the things that you've come from. Just because you've moved past that stage doesn't mean that somebody else is going through it. And I don't think you should take away or invalidate anyone's kind of, you know, struggle. We've all got to be understanding. For example, I think I spoke about this with you before. My sister-in-law, Amy's sister, one of her children has a condition called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and he's 17 now. He's got only a certain part of his heart functionality left. He's actually having palliative care at home. And she, you know, they're going through a struggle of losing a child, you know, a very early in life. And that's something, that's a battle that no parent wants to go through. But at the same time, she looks at my journey and she says, you know, I'm not going to turn around and say to you, just because what I'm going through is more difficult, that doesn't make your days any harder, or any less hard, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way, you know, we should look at people with low vision. Just because we're past a certain stage doesn't mean that, you know, that your journey or your struggles are any less.
Yeah, just empathy and walking in other people's shoes.
Absolutely. I think that's something that we can all kind of relate to in life. So forget me for a second.
Okay, you are the man. You are the man. But I want to hear from Gab. By the way, it's just really fascinating to be able to, you know, look back, you know, as far as, you know, the history of, as far as where your writing started, where it is today, the journey, the incredible journey, and to see how the writing has transformed. And I remember someone specifically calling that out when you were here last year on the book tour. And I'm really happy that you, first of all, that you saw it firsthand, and now where you see where things are today. So it's incredible. And, you know, people can go back and see that point in time where you're going through those difficulties, and to, you know, move up in time to where you are now, and to see where, you know, things are looking, you know, a bit brighter. So
I remember, like, you know, those times that Gavin was talking about there, I remember when I first started getting that criticism of being really, really hurt and affected by it, because I was in the early stages of my writing, and everything that first book for me, everything that I write is my heart and soul on the page. So when people were criticizing me for it, I really took it to heart, and like it really affected me. And I remember having conversations with Gavin about this, and him encouraging me and telling me to push on, which I'm forever grateful for. But then like now when I look back at it and I look at, like, I'm just talking for example, the people that are on the call tonight, I'm just looking here. We've got Derek on the call, who's here kind of every week now. Now, Gavin, you're still there, aren't you? You can hear me.
He's still here.
I'm here,
Yeah.
buddy.
So there's a guy on the call tonight, and I don't know if you know about this story, but I'll briefly kind of give you an overview now. Derek Mills is on the call tonight, who I'm sure will get on and speak at some point. When I was out on my book tour almost a year ago now, when Nick get into those stages, it was the 27th of October that I flew out for my first US book tour. When I was in Rhode Island doing a talk there, Derek had just been diagnosed with RP, and in his kind of process of trying to come to terms with everything that he'd just been told, he went onto Google and started researching RP, found one of my pieces of poetry, and then like he was really affected by the poetry. And when myself and Derek first met, I was doing this event at Rhode Island College, and he was in the room. He looked like he'd come straight from work. He was wearing a high-vis jacket, and there was something that was drawing me to him, and he eventually came up to me while I was doing some book signings at the end of my presentation, and we got speaking, and he told me that he'd just been diagnosed, and then that he'd found a piece of my poetry and it had really affected him. And his wife had called him that day and said, "You're never going to believe this, but Dave Steele's in America. And not only is he in America, he's in Rhode Island." And he literally walked out of his work, jumped in his car, and drove straight to come and see me. And it was a proper goosebump moment of.
Oh, I remember those goosebumps. I can still feel
absolutely.
them.
This guy had literally just been diagnosed, been helped by my poetry, and all of a sudden I was there, and he came to meet me, and we've been in touch ever since. And that's just one thing, out of so many that has really kind of justified.
It's one of the most valuable things we can all do with our lives is to put the experience that we have as we live our lives, looking back, to help the people that we see that are going through their own issues. And that could be anything. You could be mentoring a child, you could be mentoring a relation, you could be mentoring a friend, you could be mentoring somebody just because you've written something that somebody on the other side of the world has seen. And that is all mentorship, and it's people learning from our experiences. And ever since the dawn of time, people have learned from poetry and music and stories, but to learn directly from people. And I remember talking to you about that and saying, you have this amazing ability to reach somebody. We all have the amazing ability to reach people on the other side of the world. All we have to do is take that first step and put ourselves out there, and take the opportunity to go to, when you know that people are going to give you pelters, as we say in the UK, for putting yourself out there, take it on the chin, be the bigger person here, and actually say, no, I've got something to do. Because further in your life, you then go, I can now help other people. And guaranteed, if we're going to get the best from our lives, we are going to get those feelings from helping other people, and they are going to look at us like we looked at the people before us and say, they helped me in some way. And it doesn't have to be a parent, it can quite easily be somebody on the other side of the world.
Use the things that pain us most and our biggest challenges in life to help other people. Mm-hmm. That is, that's it. And yeah, absolutely 100% right. Right. Moving on a second, I just want to, one of the main reasons that I brought you onto this call was not to talk about, how we connected, but talk about what you were doing at the moment and everything you've been doing over the last few years. Because although you've been conquering this side of the pond, America are kind of, they don't really know about it. And I really wanted to introduce you to some of the people I'm kind of speaking to and working with, and talk about the possibilities that are out there. Because a lot of people out there, we did this call the other week, which I would love you to be on it now. Barry, who, I'm sure he'll explain in a second, the way we kind of connected, is, runs, is part of this family business that is a low vision specialist and helps people, realize that there is lots of different things out there that they don't get told about when they're diagnosed with low vision, that can help them, enhance their life. And it certainly, you know, fits in with what you're doing. So can you kind of expand on that?
Yeah, you're going to love this. So this is a book, and I'm holding up the back page of the book, which is me standing next to a pedestrian crossing with a guide dog owner close to me who is about 10 foot away from the buttons at the pedestrian crossing. He can't actually get to the buttons. I'll hold it a little bit closer.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
He can't
It's pretty
get to the buttons because they're too far away. And that was in 2005, I think it was. And I remember people turning up to train with guide dogs and they had mobile phones that were talking to them. 2006, iPhone 2S came along. Everybody had voiceover. And I was training people and they were telling me about technology. So I went out and bought myself an iPhone. I learned voiceover really well. I then started thinking about how technology was going to change the world. Now I'm hands-on with guide dogs at this time and people, very practical stuff. But I realized that technology was going to change it. But in that moment, I thought, well, my guide dog owner can't press the button at the crossing. I wonder if his phone could do it for him. So at that point, I invented the world's first pedestrian crossing operated by smartphones. So you stand next to the pedestrian crossing and your phone presses the button for you. And I did all of that when I was working in Guide Dogs for the Blind. I didn't know I was the first person to ever do it, but I turned out that I was. 2015, that was 2011. 2015, I'd left Guide Dogs. And I've actually got a pedestrian crossing in here. I carry one with me everywhere. I've actually got a pedestrian crossing in my front room. But I'd done this thing where I had pressed a button with a mobile phone. And then I realized that if I could press the button at a mobile phone, I could press the button at a door. And if I can press the button at a door, then the disability access door becomes much, much easier to get through. But of course, this wasn't just visual impairment. This was for anybody. This is somebody in a power chair. This is somebody with a walking aid. This is somebody with learning difficulties, or, oh my word, somebody who doesn't want to press buttons with a finger, or somebody who doesn't want to open a door with their hand, who just wants to walk up to the door and the door to open. And there, some doors will just open automatically, but disability access doors open because you press a button. And then I realized I'd done that. And then I realized that if I could press the button, if I could open a door, then at that moment, the door knew I had arrived in the building. If the door knew I had arrived in the building, the people could know I had arrived in the building purely by my walking through the door. And then I realized if I added a beacon instead of the hardware inside the door, that actual communication could happen in any building. Didn't have to have an automatic door. And then I thought to myself, well, what's the point of that? Well, if you look at staff training and how people are trained to interact with any disabled person who comes through the door, we realize that the training is carried out 6 months, 2 years before they meet somebody. And 75% of people have hidden disabilities. So for the person to get some sort of help, they would have to say, hello, my name is Gavin, I have schizophrenia. Hello, my name is Gavin, I have autism. Hello, my name is Gavin, I have epilepsy, diabetes, stammer, cerebral palsy, anything. It could be acquired brain injury. Well, using this technique, as I approach the door, a message goes to the customer service team to say who's coming through the door and how best to interact with them. The beauty of that is it puts the responsibility, or it puts the empowerment in the hands of the disabled person who's walking up to the door. But opening the, or getting close to the door wasn't enough. So I started geofencing buildings. And I would put a geofence of 300 meters around the building. So when the person walks towards the building, they get within 300 meters and a message goes to the customer service team inside the building to say, Fred is just about to walk through the door. Fred would like you to know a little bit about autism. Here is an overview of autism, and here are 5 top tips on autism. And here's a message from Fred as to what he wants to do today. When Fred walks through the door, the 19-year-old in the Starbucks knows that also that Fred wants a Danish pastry and a flat white coffee. He knows he needs a seat by the window. He knows that Fred's not very good at queuing. So Fred takes a seat and the guy in the coffee shop just takes him a coffee. And we launched that. And amazingly, I was the first person in the world to ever do it. Nobody's ever done proximity aware staff training and awareness for disability. And we launched it in 2018 and we're now installed with Royal Bank of Scotland, NatWest, Scottish Government, Visit Scotland, Irish Rail, Utility Energy, Doubletree Hilton, House of Fraser, Dundee Council, Stirling Council, Northlink Ferry Ports, 2 optometrists, plenty of coffee shops, lots of charities, we're in Dublin, we're in Belfast, we're growing all over the country, because the people that tell us where to go are the disabled people who recognize that somewhere isn't very good at customer service. So they request it, we go there, it gets installed, it's totally free. The disabled person pays nothing. The business pays a monthly subscription to have the service installed in their business.
That's incredible, Gavin.
I'm just smiling.
Because, I am privy to a lot of technology. Early on, we use technology. We're very familiar with beacons and everything, about them. But I have never heard of anything or seen anything where you can have that level of interaction to, prep someone, whether it's in a railway station, airport, wherever it may be, a hotel, bank, all those, fantastic, establishments that you rattled off. But to be able to let them know that this person is coming in, this is their situation, and this will be the best way to provide them with the highest level of care. That to me is incredible. And it's just,
can I just add something? I've always, on all these calls, when we've been talking about anything, not just like accessibility and technology, I've always said that the most important thing to anyone that has a disability or low vision, blindness, whatever you want to call it, when they are going to an unfamiliar place, is anything that takes away that sense of anxiety when walking into unfamiliar surroundings is invaluable. And we've spoke about many things that kind of touch on that and do that, and this is definitely a game changer as far as that's concerned. We've talked about technology, but something that uses technology and human interaction together so well is just amazing, and so important for people like us to keep their independence.
Well, you don't want to have to turn up in the building and say, please don't talk to my guide dog, or could you tell me your name, please? Oh, are you leaving? No, it's not. I don't understand when you say it's over there. Could you walk at the speed I need to? Well, if the person knows all of that stuff before you walk through the door, when they're 19-year-olds, they're in the first job ever. They've never done any staff training. And all of a sudden it's right there in front of them. And the epiphany moment was, I had a washing machine broke down, and I opened up the door and the seal was broken. And I thought, oh, the seal's broken. So I went on Amazon and I ordered a new seal. 2 days later, the seal came through, and I thought, well, I could get a plumber out to fix it, or I can go on YouTube. And then I thought, well, I'll go on YouTube. I watched a 5-minute video. I fitted the seal on my washing machine. I spent £27 instead of £150, and I did it in 4 days instead of 2 weeks. And I did it myself. It was powerful in that I did it. And I just did it from learning something in the moment. And that is available to us all. It doesn't take away the need to meet people and to actually interact and learn by communication, but it means that somebody can avoid serious discrimination. It means that we can end the awkwardness that somebody working in a hotel or a hospital or a reception, or the awkwardness they feel when they meet someone. And as Dave said, it removes the arrival anxiety in the disabled person who might now decide to leave their home because they know they can go into a shop they've never been before, knowing that the person in the shop is going to say, hello, Mr. Smith, how are you today? Without ever meeting them before. And that has been a game changer here in the UK. And I know Deborah Rue in the States, I did a show with her the other day. And Deborah was just like, when are you coming to the States? We need you over here.
Absolutely.
So hopefully a matter of time.
As you can tell, Barry, we have a lot of connections. Deborah being one of them, a good friend of ours.
Yes.
Great. Deborah's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Deborah is amazing. I'm just curious as far as like when someone walks in, the person on the other end, let's say it's a hotel or a coffee shop, right? How many people get that notification? So let's say it's in a busy scenario, a busy environment, right?
Yeah.
How many people get that notification, and can you set that proximity as far as when they get that notification? Tell me a little about that.
So yeah, when there are 4 points of contact There will be 5, but there are 4 points of contact. One, when the person says they're going, and they have 2-hour window. So you, rather than, I think it's 48 hours or 24 hours, which is the standard here. If you want customer service, you have to phone 24 hours beforehand if you're traveling or something like that. So we have a 2-hour window. So you say you're going. As soon as you say you're going, as soon as you press send on your phone, a message goes directly to the customer service team where there's a phone call to the reception desk. They then open up a screen. They look at the screen. It's a web service. They look at the screen. They see the information. Just the one person at that point. It could be the senior manager or somebody else, but it goes to certain people within that business. When you then hit the geofence, they get another message, an automated phone call to say the person's nearby. When they can look at the screen again. And then when the person walks through the door, they get another message when they hit the beacon, which is obviously just saying, I'm here. But then they can also hit a manual arrival button on the phone. So if they go through, they go into the door, into the building, they sit in a seat, nobody comes to see them, they hit the manual arrival button, and that sends another message to say this person's here. We're just about to launch a messaging system, which will be 2-way. So the customer service team can talk to the person. If they're on a train and the train's late, then you can change the customer service you get before you arrive in the station, say, for instance. So we have all these points of contact where the person is sending a message, but in answer to your question, there are certain admin users within the building who have a direct line, be that through their mobile phone or indeed the PC that's on their desk.
Got it. Thank you so much for giving me that detailed explanation. I'm really intrigued by this, and from what I understand, is this only available in the UK right now?
UK and Ireland. We just launched with Irish Rail the other day, so we wanted a little step into Europe. For us, the easiest countries to work in are predominantly English-speaking currently, because although it's not a massive challenge to change things into another language, we would add Spanish if we were going to be doing anything in the States, because obviously it's the second language in the States. But it makes sense because the States is our next step. You've got Canada and the US, both of which countries could quite easily use this system. Yeah,
it's quite intriguing. I definitely want to speak further with you offline.
Oh yeah, no, we will chat. But
we'll set up a call. We'll set up a call and do that. I've been dying to connect you guys for quite some time now, and I'm sure Barry, you'll confirm this. I spoke about Gavin.
Yes, many times. Yes, on the first. Yeah. Yes, I do remember that. Yes. Yes.
I would just say one last thing to tie it back. This is not about technology. That in fact, the phone's
absolutely
the whole time. The phone's not even in your hand unless you're at home, in which case somebody else could be filling it in. If you're somebody who doesn't have a cognitive ability to communicate, it could be a parent with a child, whatever it might be. But ultimately, this is about people communicating. This is about two people, and that we all know that saying a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. Well, ultimately, what this does is it makes sure it's a friend that you haven't met yet. And you just haven't met them yet, but you're going to meet them. Now, to do that, we have to have some sort of connection. And the connection is, this is how best to help me when I arrive. And both people get a positive out of it. So everything here is about how we connect with other people and how we do it where technology or indeed the page or whatever is not a barrier to the actual communication. The communication has to be human. And I think it's why I get on well with Dave, because it's human communication. It's just through poetry. And my communication is through tech.
It's funny. I've spoke about this quite often, and Gavin, I know you're going to relate to what I'm saying here. I spoke about this a few weeks ago, where I was saying when people call me a poet, I find it a bit weird because I don't consider myself a poet, even though I go by the name of the blind poet. The poetry is a means to an end. It's a way of me being able to support and connect other people. It's just that I chose poetry because of my background as a singer. What I found was that I was able to, I know this is one of the questions on the chat there, because I just had a quick look about how I use poetry and what it does for me. When I lost my purpose, when I was first diagnosed, when I didn't know what I was going to do next, as I've spoke about on many occasions, I found that when I was talking about everything that I was going through in poetry, that was supporting other people, that was helping them feel like they were less alone, and they were using my words as a way to communicate with their loved ones how they were feeling when they couldn't find the words themselves. So that gave me my sense of purpose back. And that's what I find with you is, you know, you have this great passion. It's about helping and supporting people. It's not about, you know, awards or getting an app out there and doing whatever and success. The thing that's very clear from the way you talk, and any time I've heard you speak, it's about that real passion you have for supporting and helping and making a difference for people out there.
If more of us did that, my word, this would, well, the people who do it just now are so incredibly good at doing it that they make up for so many people that don't do it. And there's some people who just aren't in a position to do it, but there are some people who avoid doing it. And those are the guys that we need to give a little kick to. You need to say, guys, you think that money is king. You think that having the most money and the most things is the most important thing. You are missing out on goosebumps. And I took a photograph a minute ago, Dave. You wouldn't have seen it. My arm was covered in goosebumps. And I take those photographs and I say, guys, you can't buy this shit. Sorry, you can't buy this stuff. Goosebumps is not something, they're even stronger now, so I'm going to have to take that again. My arm is just rippling with goosebumps.
Oh my God.
If not muscles, goosebumps. And it's because you can't buy that stuff, and you only get that stuff from helping other people. And
yeah, I was talking to B Fox, who will pull in a second, because I'm sure Ben would love to speak to you as well. I was talking to Ben before this call started tonight, and I was saying how the thing that drives me every day I get up is I want to find new ways to reach more people with my poetry, because of the effect it's already had on people who are out there and on this call tonight. And that's the same with yourself. You know, it's like you've seen the impact from that very first video that you did at the crossing, where, you know, the guy in the wheelchair was able to press the button himself.
I'll share that.
And seeing that impact that made, that is the thing that drives you every day to go, how can I take what I'm doing and reach more people? And it's not about anything else but that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I'll die doing this stuff because it means so much. It's a legacy that, I mean, I don't have kids. I'm not married. I'm kind of like, this is my thing. This is what I do, and it's what I love doing. And I've discovered the secret of life, which is to do something like this and get goosebumps on a regular basis. But the truth is, it's frustration when you don't achieve it. When somebody doesn't, you just go, come on, get it. Somebody has to get it. And when you get champions who get it, you know you're making progress, and that's the food that keeps you moving forward. And you know that when one person says, great piece of music, great poetry, that's the food that keeps you moving forward to the next piece of music, the next piece of poetry. And I've always said that it's brilliant to be an innovator, an entrepreneur, but unless you have champions, you ain't going nowhere. You need people to tell the world about you, and they are just as valuable as the people who have got the thing to say. In fact, they're more valuable. Otherwise, you might as well be howling at the moon somewhere. You need people around you. There was somebody in Q&A, Alison Berger. She said, "We need this in the USA." Now, she's got that in caps lock on there. She's going, "We need this." Now, she will go and tell people about this tomorrow and say, "I saw this amazing thing." Now, if that person did not exist, this goes nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same.
I do want to say that I agree with Allison, and Allison specifically, has gone above and beyond to have, to share and to bring people to this group. So I want to really, say thank you, Allison, for, spreading the word, because it not only means a lot to me, but to Dave, to Ben, and obviously to Gavin here, because we need people like you and everyone else here on this call here.
Those are the people. They're so important.
So can I just say, I can't believe we're almost at 10-2 anyway. We're kind of running out of time. I really want to fit as much in as we can. If we go slightly over, that's all good. Ben, I know Ben's out there. Let's bring Ben in if Ben has anything to ask Gavin or anything to add.
Yeah, Gavin, I don't know if you noticed over here, I was crying a little bit when I heard your passion. You're a pioneer, and obviously a genius, and you have art, my brother, and it touches my heart. What gives me goosebumps is to be out here in this world, and for there to be people like you that just pop up. And I get.
We just need to find them.
Told me about you. He said you guys are old school friends, and he couldn't, this man who is a master of words couldn't find words to express how much he cares about you and what you meant to him in his life. He's like, you'll meet him, you'll see. And I just got a glimpse. And I just thank you for your heart. Thank you for the work you've done in the community. And you're literally making accessibility and inclusion real in the real world through technology. And God bless you for that, my brother. And Dave, you were the
I might
master
cry in a
connector,
minute.
not just of words and sentences, my brother.
Goosebumps and tears.
This has gone beyond goosebumps now, and I might just have to go. I've got something in my eye. I've got something in my eye.
You see, Ben does he does a good job of hiding the tears because he's wearing his filters, but that's why he's wearing them.
He's the man.
I get him every week. Listen, can I just, while I've got everyone on before we start taking, because I want to try and fit as many people in as possible, because I know there's going to be people who want to come on and speak to Gavin and ask different things. I want to try and bring as many people in. But while I always like to do a thing while I've got everyone on, that I read a piece of poetry. So I've never read for Gavin. So I'd like to kind of read something for you now.
Another first.
This one, yeah, it was written a couple of days ago. It's called Each Step into the Blur. It's been featured on RNIB, and I think it's going to be featured on some of the radio shows tomorrow. So I want to share this with you. This journey into blindness, each step into the blur, has taught me how to catch my breath whilst facing the unsure. But for every battle I have won, my heart has many scars. Some days it's hard to see the sun, instead see prison bars. I've drowned in blind depression, and sometimes I still do. I broke my heart so many times, but most don't have a clue. My family's seen the anger, frustration, tears and pain. My wife has held me shaking whilst we pray some sight remains. But all of this is natural. We grieve and breathe out fear. Our hearts revive as we survive, our focus crystal clear. Although it's often draining to constantly adjust, I found my voice, my fate, my choice. There's strength in me, I trust. So this is how I'm living. Despite this life I live, I'll find the beauty in the haze, turn pain to positive. And though I'm not done grieving, I'm breathing, pushing on. For with each step into the blur, each day I'll carry on.
Wow. Home run. Uh-oh, you're going to have more tears and more goosebumps.
Freaking awesome.
Let's bring some people in.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in Travis, because Travis has been waiting for a long time. So Travis, here we go. While Travis comes in, I just wanted to read a couple more comments. Morton, hope all is well. Morton said, Gavin found his purpose. Dave found his purpose. And when you find your purpose, goosebumps become everyday happenings. That is so, so true. And excellent comment there. Thank you, Morton. Kristen also writes, she goes, I'm curious, how does poetry help you with your disability? Is it a method of processing your inner feelings and coming to a place of truth with your emotions? Writing is a higher form of thought and allows for more analytical examination. So I'm just wondering what and how the writing of poetry has helped you cope with your disability and connect you with other people who are also struggling.
Poetry and music is the same thing. It's the same way we all have songs that have been there for us at moments when we needed them the most. Everyone has a particular song that has gotten us through a hard or difficult time in our lives. And music and poetry is the same thing. Poetry, to me, does exactly that.
Thank you, Dave, for sharing that. And Travis.
Hey, Dave, can I answer one too on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you hear me, Dave?
Of course.
I wanted to say, just an answer to Kristen, your poetry in particular, I agree with your statement on poetry and song, but Dave Steele's poetry in particular has helped me to blindness, explain their vision to their families as they transition their feelings, and explain it generally to public. So that's one of the reasons that this particular poetry hour is so special to a number of people on this call that have told me that personally, and I completely agree with that, and I say it myself. So love you, Dave. Love this poetry, and I'm going to keep sharing it with people to explain what's happening with my own vision.
Love you too.
Travis, go ahead. Thank you so much for your patience.
All right, can you hear me okay?
We hear you loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Well, hey, I'm Travis Sittler here. I come to you from Templeton, California, which is in the United States. And I am so happy to be a part of this group.
Thank you, and it's great
Awesome.
to have you on the
We're happy
call.
to have you here.
Thank you. Allison Berger had mentioned something about it because, we have our monthly blind meeting at the end of each month on the first Monday, one of the last Mondays or Tuesdays of the month. And when she told me about it, I just thought, this is perfect, especially when we need some good poetry, for what we're going through and everything, and to socialize some more and get to meet people too. And I think a couple of other members besides myself were going to join.
Yeah, it looks like there are a bunch of members from Team Allison that are here this afternoon. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Gail Kennedy's here, and I do work in home improvement when I'm not participating in meetings.
Nice.
I work at Home Depot.
Oh, very nice.
Awesome.
I work for special services as one of the greeters, and I do the announcements and do the phones, and I am certified in home appliances.
Gavin, you could have called up Travis and he would have come over. He would have made the trek all the way.
Well, I don't know if I can repair them, but I can tell you which one to buy and which one not to buy.
Travis, it sounds like you have an amazing voice for the intercom.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah, he does. He definitely does.
But that in itself is a great, talent and resource that I know that many people with sight loss could really benefit from having you as a direct, I don't want to say it as a directory, but being able to give them that guidance as far as home improvement, and as far as being able to, what to purchase and just giving them all the ins and outs and tips.
Exactly. Well, me watching HGTV and everything and researching it all the time, that's another thing.
Yeah, that's incredible. It sounds like you're extremely passionate as far as with the work that you're doing.
So, Travis, can I ask you a question? Obviously,
yes.
your first time on the call tonight. Have you kind of related to the things that we've been speaking about? How have you found it?
I found it very gratifying, I must say, and it's interesting you mention this because a couple of weeks ago, I was having a very down day a few weeks back, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, you've probably been hearing, California's been having a lot of wildfires,
Absolutely,
this year.
yeah.
Oh, there was a time a couple of weeks ago for like a week, the air was just absolutely just chokingly bad, and you couldn't see the sun for a week, let me just tell you.
Wow.
And just what people were going through, it was just really hard on me. And right now I'm working on getting my own place because I currently live under my parents' roof, and it's just taking its time. But luckily, all my blind groups I'm involved in on my Facebook account, and of course my local blind group with Allison and all, lots and lots and lots of moral support.
Can I ask you just quickly as well? So your low vision, how is your vision at the moment? Or, are you completely blind, or do you have some residual vision? What is the vision down to?
So I'm visually impaired. I do have light perception. I can see colors, but the technology I use voiceover on all my Apple devices.
Yep.
And I am a Braille reader. So I have a Braille note and, the whole 9 yards. And
Fantastic.
I've been like this since birth.
Okay. So your journey with regards to your vision is very different to someone who has lost it later in life, and yeah.
Well, and my intention is because I know people in my group, people have lost their vision in the group I'm involved in and so forth. And people like myself can help those people learn things like help with Braille or voiceover, anything.
Yeah.
This is all new and it's a restart.
Travis, the one thing, because I did lots of training with technology and how to train people with technology and things like this, but the congenitally blind or early onset blindness, people who knew voiceover by the time they were sort of like 18, 19, because obviously voiceover's been around a certain amount of time, they were just like better than any sighted person could ever be at teaching somebody about the technology and accessibility on a mobile phone or a tablet or wherever it might be. And I think there's this massive opportunity out there for expert trainers to be visually impaired people who just know this stuff so well.
Exactly.
And I think it's an amazing support mechanism when you find somebody who might be a lawyer or an accountant or somebody who's in a high position and or an architect, and they lose their sight over a period of time, and then looking to somebody who maybe is congenitally blind or long-term blind who has these skills, and there's a turnaround there's a balance of power, so to speak, and it makes the person who's maybe losing their sight feel just that little bit more humble when they might not have felt that way as they were sort of like in their high-powered job. And I think it's really important for people to then look at themselves and then go, yeah, okay, maybe I was wrong, or maybe I need to take a breather and look at other people and how they're living in the world. So it's brilliant that you're able to do that.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm very grateful I can help, some of my friends in my group, with that stuff. Because this is like, it's a new journey. It's just like, well, how do I do this? How do I use Pandora? How do I use Spotify?
Yeah, exactly. Love it.
But it's all good. It's totally all good.
Travis, I want to thank you for your patience. I know you put your hand up early on, and you really been extremely patient. But so thank you so much for joining us.
And I hope you'll join us again next week, and absolutely tell all your friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so basically, so I know I'll get email updates every week about the reminders,
yes.
with the link.
Yes.
And what's the name of this group called?
Tea and Poetry with Dave Steele.
Okay, so is it T, like initials T and N, or?
No, tea, like tea, like we drink tea, T-E-A.
British tea.
The British tea, yes.
So it's Tea Poetry.
Tea and Poetry.
Tea and Poetry.
Tea and Poetry.
With Dave Steele, the blind poet.
Okay, now how can people sign up? Because I was going to tell my blind groups about this on my Facebook page.
Sure. So I can send you the link, because I think I actually, either one of myself or one of my colleagues had registered you, because Allison provided me with your information.
Yes.
How would you like me to send you actually, it's very simple, actually. I can either send you the link, or you can send people to Dave's website, theblindpoet.net. And from there, it's actually just theblindpoet.net/tea and poetry spelled out. Theblindpoet.net/tea and poetry.
Okay, so theblindpoet.net/tea and poetry.
Yeah, and the and is spelled A-N-D, not like an ampersand.
Right. So theblindpoet.net/tea and poetry. Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Great. I will. Yeah. I'll try that website out first, and then I will share it on my Facebook and so forth.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, and we're glad you're here. And I'm sending you back to as a panelist. So thank you so much for joining us.
Anyone else?
You're welcome.
Wants to come in and say hi?
I meant to as an attendee. If there's anyone else out there that wants to say a quick hello, it's been an incredible. These are the fastest hours. It's unbelievable how
it's crazy
how fast
how quick it goes.
So, all right, it looks like everyone's a little shy tonight, but been great feedback throughout the chat. Great to have everyone here tonight. Great group tonight as well. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I definitely, Gavin, I want to thank you for carving out time from your evening to join us. And you have an open invitation here. And Dave, I'm going to hand it over to you to close things out with a little bit more poetry. Gavin, I look forward to connecting with you offline.
Yeah, sure. And if I could just set the goal. If anybody is wanting to find out more about my company, I'm not in the States and the US yet, but the company's called Neatbox. And if people want to look at what we do, it's Neatbox, which is NEATEBOX. It's an E in the middle. So neatbox.com/welcome, all one word, welcome. So, and it's just lowercase. Neatbox.com/welcome. And they can find out what this system is. One day, I promise, we will come to the States. It has to happen. And this kind of stuff has to happen. And whether it's my company or somebody else's company, it has to happen.
It's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen.
It's got to happen. Anyway, that's me. That's from me. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you so much, team. You're absolute superstars. And I love it. It's brilliant.
Gavin, thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you. Dave will put us in touch. And yes.
Absolutely. So I just want to say a big thank you once again to everyone that's been on the call this week. Another amazing week, and next week is going to be, we're going to keep going, keep pushing forward, more people growing every week, and it's all about that support. As I say, here in the UK tomorrow is National Poetry Day. I will be posting a link on my Facebook page and all the social media for the RNIB stuff from tomorrow. But I'm going to leave you with this poem.
I just want to say one thing. I find it fascinating that tomorrow, you're saying being World Poetry Day, right? Where we have World Sight Day on October 8th. Quite fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in October. So yeah, it's a big month for kind of getting my stuff out there. So yeah, I'm going to leave you with this one. This is called Side by Side, and I really hope you can relate to it. And once again, massive thank you for everyone on the call tonight. When sight loss took a hold of me and changed the world I knew, my independence vanished, the darkness in me grew. I felt as if my purpose had been snatched away from me, a source of great confusion just because of how I see. But all the while you made me smile and showed me my true worth, reminded me the reason I've been placed upon this earth, the answers in my children's eyes and in that look you give. No matter what this blindness does, I'll love this life I live. These days I notice little things. This tunnel view's my aim. This blind life is incredible. Heart's vision will remain. So when the day that I can't see your face no more is here, I'll be the one to comfort you, my shoulder catch your tears. For it's my turn, in memory burn those pictures in my mind. I've saved them up for days like these, for when I'm mostly blind. But if those fears consume you, get too much for you to face, together stand, I'll hold your hand, feel safe in my embrace. We face these things together. We've made our special vow. We may not win them all, but side by side we'll take our bow. My sight is far from perfect, but with you in my life sure is. For as long as we're together, there'll be nothing that I'll miss.
Wow. Yeah, we're not going to go into it, but I just love the title, Side by Side. It's
what we're all about, side by side. We're all together in this.
And I just want to say before we say goodbye, I want a special thanks to Allison again for really going out of her way to share with her friends about this amazing platform. I want to say a good evening to Morten Bunda, who was with us just a couple of weeks ago as well. Morten, have a wonderful evening. Check out those Lego Braille bricks that are now, I think, making their way over to the U.S. and around the world. And I want to say a quick hello to Philip as well, and Sharon out there, and Lisa. Hope you are doing well. And I just want to say one last thing to end this off, that Mr. B. Fox will be sleeping in the Blind Poet Suite this evening.
I know.
So,
and as of this exact moment right now, we're passing into Manhattan from the Lincoln Tunnel. Boom.
Boom.
I miss it. That's
what's up.
He just came out of the Lincoln Tunnel.
You, Dave.
Miss you too.
All right.
It was the Holland Tunnel.
Holland Tunnel. I was going to say, I recognized that it was not the Lincoln Tunnel.
What are you, blind?
I'm from Utah.
Are you blind?
From the hills of Utah.
Sounded good to me.
Welcome to New York.
Sounded good to me.
Yes.
That makes
I love
sense.
this
All
call,
right.
you guys. It's been a special one.
Be well. Good luck with the meeting. I'll talk to you. Dave, take care. Have a good night. Gavin, great to meet you. Have a wonderful evening. And saying so long.
Cheers, guys. Bye for now.
See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Cheers.